Hello everybody, hope you enjoyed our look back at the 2015-16 season in the Vanarama National League, and welcome back to Wembley. It is non-league finals day. We've already seen Morpeth Town lift the FA Vase. Now we turn our attention to the FA Trophy, the cup competition for the higher ranking non-league teams, which will be fought today between FC Halifax Town and Grimsby Town, two teams who next season will be going in opposite directions. After a valiant battle for survival, Halifax were relegated on the final day of the season. This is their first ever appearance at Wembley and a chance for them to redress the balance and finish the season on a high. Grimsby, on the other hand, are chasing a rare double after clinching their return to the Football League amid emotional scenes here 7 days ago. Stay with us as we build up to FC Halifax Town against Grimsby Town in the final of the FA Trophy, exclusively live here on BT Sports. Delighted to say, still with us, Chris Hargreaves, who captained Torquay United to promotion of the Football League back in 2009, scored a goal as well. Kevin Davis has come down from the gantry. His last football action was part of the Preston team, promoted by the playoffs here last year. And Steve Bauer is back as well, and with no intended disrespect to Adam Summerton, we've missed you, Steve. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Clem. I've missed you.
What have you made of proceedings in the Vanarama National League? I should ask in your absence first of all.
Well, I think, generally over a season you get what you deserve. Sometimes you don't. But I think this season it's fair to say at the top they have. Cheltenham have been the better team. They've been the most consistent team. They were worthy champions. We were all here 12 months ago when we saw the heartache of Grimsby, where they could quite easily have won that playoff final. They could have crumbled again this season, but full marks to Paul Hurst and his team. It was a rocky road. But I think they deserve to go back into the Football League, Clem. And I think at the bottom, a special mention for Guiseley for surviving, I think, on the lowest budget in the league, and for the likes of Braintree and Dover for getting into the playoffs. The ones that disappointed me slightly, I fully expected Wrexham under Gary Mills and Tranmere under Gary Brabbin to finish in those playoff positions, and I think they'll be very disappointed if they don't do that next season.
And I guess that the league will need those big teams to tip up, because when you lose a heavyweight like Grimsby, it's good to keep your end up with a couple of heavyweights.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with Steve. They've been quite disappointing, I think, Wrexham and Tranmere with their overall seasons, but there's been some good teams in there, and I think, as Steve said, the two teams deserved the promotion in the end, and it was a great, obviously, weekend for Grimsby last weekend and back here today. But I think overall it's been a good season in the National League, yeah. And
we should just recap for anybody that has just joined us the FA Vase. Magnificent performance from Morpeth Town, Chris Hargreaves.
It was more underdog stuff, wasn't it? It was an incredible game. I feared for them at first, but they came back and were resilient and showed a magnificent spirit second half. Fully deserved it. And special mention to Hereford at the end. That's such a class.
Really class act.
It was tremendous, the way the game should be played.
To form a guard of honour there as those Morpeth Town players came down the steps and their manager, etc. Now, guard off, tell me your immediate reaction. And Steve, I'm very interested to hear what you think. An announcement from the Football League this week that they would like to have a fourth division. So in other words, there'd be 4 divisions of 20 teams. 20, 20, 20. Only 12 teams they've got at the moment, so they'd need to add another 8. We assume from the Vanarama National League, although we do have the spectre of B teams as well. They have the backing of the Premier League and the FA, but clearly the National League at the moment not too happy at the prospect of losing some quite major players.
No, I mean, I think there's 2 ways of looking at it. With the National League hat on, and someone who's covered this league now for 8 or 9 years, I don't think it's good news. But the one thing that I would say is, I've also been saying for 8 or 9 years, is comfortably the top half generally in this division could play in League 2.
And that is how the third division, you'd have Championship League, Leagues 1, 2, that is how 3 would look if they nicked the top 8 teams and it all took place. Because we are talking about a paper to be voted on in a year's time, and for the 1920s.
Well, I think when you go back in history, Clem, what I'm saying is proven. When you look at Stevenage when they went under Graham West, you look at Steve Evans with Crawley, when you look at Yeovil, and I know what Brian Barwick's saying there, and there's strong words, and as I say, with my National League head on, I can totally understand that. But the standard of football, which people who don't watch this league all the time and sometimes turn their head up, and then when the FA Cup first round and second round comes along and people say to me, oh, so-and-so have knocked out so-and-so, and I said, well, yeah, I've been telling you.
I don't doubt the standard, Steve, but my problem, Kevin, is the effect it would have on the upper tier of non-league football, which would obviously get knocked down 1 tier. It means the top division of non-league would now be the 6th tier.
I quite excited by it. I'd like to see a bit more, because I think it's giving those teams an opportunity to go and play professionally in a football league. So 8 teams possibly going into professional football, which is giving more managers' jobs, more coaching jobs, more professional football players. And I think if they can overcome the loss of earnings in the 8 games they will be losing, and get a bit more money down
that's
from
the big point,
the
Kev,
TV,
isn't it?
then
Because that's a lot of money
yeah.
for these clubs. That's got
revenue,
to come from somewhere. Whether it comes from the Premier League, fine. But that is a lot of money for these
I think that's a
National League
knock-on
clubs.
effect, doesn't it? The teams below the National League, then they get an opportunity to step up, and it will dilute it a little bit. But I think it's quite an interesting
Can't see
model.
it happening. I honestly can't see it happening. I think that the first thing they need to do is 3 up and 3 down. That simplifies it for me.
Oh, I'm sure that sweetener
that's a whole different debate, isn't it?
Well, I know, but
How long have we got?
I should point out, if you are a little bit worried about this at home, it would take 65 of the 72 Football League clubs to vote in favour of